Yo, welcome guys to another video again. Walmart Tape Bar here. We're doing a quick video today on the things you need to know about sports cars. And this can go for any sports car. And we're not talking about base models. We're not talking about trucks here. Any sports car. You can have a sports car truck from the 90s or a sports car from the early 2000s. This is that video. So we're going to go by a couple key points on what to consider when buying a sports car. Again, Honda Civic Si, Celica GTS, Civic Type R, and many other different models. Ford Raptors as a good example. Eclipse GSTs. So in this example, we're going to go by Eclipse GST and Celica GTSs and the Civic Si. We're going to go by these three examples for this video. But this can work on anything really. So and get boogieing, and then we'll start the video. So, keynotes on sports cars. Number one, and this is going by my personal experience of 10 years of buying sports cars used out of people with my last dime. So if you're planning on being in the same position, I'm the perfect example because I learned how to do car stuff myself. And I'm the perfect example of that because I've drained my bank account fixing shitty sports cars, and I've learned a lot about owners and stuff, especially with sports cars that are older in the 90s. So number one, anything that the previous owner tells you, unless there's receipts or photo proof at least, take the idea and just literally just throw it in the trash. Because from my experience, the people saying the motor's rebuilt, compression is good, and there's no photos or receipts of it having that work done or any type of engine removal and stuff like that, it's bullshit. It's cap. So just take anything that the previous owner says and just throw it out. Now I'm going to tell you what to avoid and how to fix this avoidance. To avoid this, always ask for proof of anything or any type of work done. Oil changes not being on time, coolant flushes, previous transmission, previous engine work. You always want to see paper proof of that type of stuff. Always, no matter what. Because that tells you that the owner really cared for the car and that they appreciated the car, they admired it. And like any other sports car, if somebody really loves their sports car, they're going to take care of it and do maintenance. Watch out for number two. This is going to be a quick keynote. Watch out for people that come from shady areas. A good example of that is I've brought in cars from New York. I've brought in cars from Bridgeport, Connecticut, New Haven, areas like that. You can get really beat up cars from that area. Meriden. That's just a couple of key areas right there. Waterbury. You just got to be super careful about where you buy cars from, because if they're from sketchy areas, it's most probably going to be a shitty car that's been beat on. So, not making that judgment for every car, but for the most part, watch in what area you're buying that car from, and if the previous owner lives in that area, possibly. That's really quick. Number three, how many owners does a car have? If a sports car has more than 8 owners, my Civic Si is a very good example of that. And it's been hopping from dealership to dealership, and then it only has 2 owners. That tells you a lot about the story. So always run a VIN check. And always make sure that the owners that had the car, when they did have it, wasn't for super short periods of time. You want to see owners that had the car, for an example, for 50,000 miles. They went to 100,000, that's pretty decent. But if it's going for 10,000 miles, they got it and they traded it in for 15,000 miles, it's a very short period amount of time, and who knows what happened. Maybe they didn't like the car, maybe the car had too much problems and stuff like that. So be very careful of how many owners it has. You can run a VIN check to avoid this through any website, Carfax, and many of other websites. They'll charge you $5, but what you can do is just have them stop charging it. That's what I did, and my car had 8 owners, surprisingly. So to avoid that, run a VIN check. Always. Number 5, if you're planning on buying a used sports car, make sure that you're ready to tolerate any type of expenses that are going to happen. Because like any sports car, and this goes for every car actually, you cannot just go into a car and buy a sports car with all the money that you have and go dry. You know what I mean? You can't do that, because these cars, the Civic SIs, the Celica GTSs, especially the Eclipse GST, if you don't have money left over and something breaks down, it can be super expensive on these sports cars. Like the transmission on the SIs are almost $1,000. You know, then you have to pay for labor, and then you have to pay for all this stuff. Assuming that you do your own work, then you just pay for the transmission. That's even overall expensive. So make sure you have some money put aside, at least $1,000 after you buy the sports car, for registration, emissions, any small repairs. That's the best advice I can give you guys. To avoid this, make sure you have a decent amount of savings after you buy the car. So let's say I want to buy a Eclipse GSX, and I plan on wasting $7,000 on the car, and the car checks out to me fine, and everything looks good to me. I want to at least have like $2,000 or like $1,000 set aside so I can put work into this car. Because if I don't, then I'm going to be left on foot. Then I'm going to have to scratch some money for a tow and stuff like that. You never want to be put in a position like that, ever. Keynote number 7, and then I'll lead to my last one, which is number 8. Number 7 is going to have to be, let's see. If you plan on, check on the marketplace for the modification prices on them if you really, really love the car. Because sometimes modifying a specific car can be really, really expensive. I don't know, let's say for an example, the Mustang. Sometimes the exhaust can be super expensive, the software, the engine parts, and a good budget option might be the Civic Si. You know, so just keep that in mind when you're planning on buying a sports car. Is look at how expensive stuff is. What's the worst case scenario when you're planning on buying this car? What if the engine blows up? How much is a new engine for this car? You know, you kind of want to be over dramatic about it, because at the end of the day, you are going to keep the car and you are going to fix it. So to avoid this, window shop for everything you want to do with that car, even before you plan on buying it. So take a look at the car. If you like the car, say I have to think about it, go home, do a little bit of window shopping or what you want to do with the car, and write out your budget and what you want to do and build with the car. That's how you avoid it. Number 8, last but not least, make sure you look at other people's reviews on the car. When it comes to the Eclipse GSTs, you really have to appreciate the car and love the car for what it is, because those cars require sometimes a lot of work. Same thing goes for any sports car. Sometimes it requires a lot of work to be put in to maintain these cars and do basic maintenance, actually. Like a Mustang, you know, this big engine, you have to keep in mind the cost of putting oil in the car, putting gas in the car, all these factors. So you always want to keep these in mind when you buy the car. And the reviews, do people like it, do people hate it? Join your forums even before you buy the car. Join a forum that knows about these cars and their personal opinions on it, what they love, what they hate, what they like, what they dislike, what's the conveniences of the car. You know, is it easy to tear apart if it's your first sports car? Is this car easy to tear apart if I need to fix something myself or do something as basic as an oil change? You know, these are keynotes of what I think you personally think should do. And I think that's super, super important. I'd put it at number 1, but I'm ending with number 8, is that make sure that the car is easy to work on. Because you might be put in a position to where you have to do your own oil change or fix this and fix that. So keep that in mind for when you plan on buying your first sports car. Make sure it's easy to work on. And if you can deal with the challenge, then awesome. I'm going to end this video really quickly. I love you guys. Peace out.